I was just asking her, why is it that humans are the only good-looking Jedi or creatures in the Star Wars movies? All the other ones look gross or weird. You have that Jedi Master that looks like he looks like a pinched off turd, but like skin toned. He's got like this weird cone head and like a little bit of hair on top of it. Like he's gross looking, right? He's got weird shape things in there. Like it's like he's got stuff tucked in there probably. Like that's where he keeps his laundry whenever he's traveling. And you have other ones that look like Play-Doh, like children's Play-Doh. They were making stuff and they just like stuck things and they poked like little eye things in there and like little loose pieces of plastic. It's like, oh look, it's an alien now. And then George Lucas was like, it's brilliant. Let's put it in a movie. Give it a lightsaber. It's a master.
Who is to say that those species aren't very handsome to their own species?
No one's attractive. They're gross.
I mean, what about the boob ladies? Like they have the boobs on their head. Somebody's gotta like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
No, the ladies that the ladies that have the long like tentacles on their head, but at the very top it looks like a boob. No, they're like slaves to Jabba the Hutt.
I know exactly who you're talking about. I don't remember here because I do remember the whatever, like the, again, Play-Doh or something. I don't know what this is that's their head. But I don't remember any of this up here. Were they wearing something to kind of cover?
Yeah, so, yeah, kind of. Like, they had, like, a tank top on, and then you could see, like, cleavage.
So weird. Why George Lucas? Or whoever it was that actually designed these characters, because I don't know much about them. You tell me. Did George Lucas design most or some? What percentage of the aliens did he have like creative say over as far as like this? They have to look like this. Like, and they're like, really, George? They have boobs on their head? Like it has to look like this. You don't understand. And then they put boobs on their head, and they was like, yeah, that's what I was talking about.
So. As far as I understand, creatively, he was really just writer, and like he got his ideas, like I said before, from like samurai movies. So you could see that there's some influence, like what they wear, and like how Darth Vader has that kind of like samurai helmet kind of thing going on, but. As far as I understand, everything else was kind of they had several people that were coming up with like the creative makeups and stuff. So I don't know exactly who came up with like the boob lady. I don't know. Somebody's gonna tell me what race they are, and I'm gonna be like, well, boob ladies.
Everybody knows the boob lady.
The slaves. They just have, like I said, like a tank top wrap and then like boobs sticking, really long boobs sticking out of it.
I'm wondering if they're actually boobs or you're just seeing what you want to see in this, because I don't remember any of it. Okay, but like, okay, maybe it plays into like the type of story, like the mythology that George Lucas was trying to tell with these particular movies, where like things are maybe scary or like everything's very off-putting, and that's supposed to make you care more about like the human characters more. Those are your, well, I guess they're not humans, but you know, whatever, humanoid characters more, because like everything else is just so foreign looking, so impossible looking. Kind of your natural empathy needs to go somewhere, so it's all kind of funneled towards Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and everybody else. But like Jabba the Hutt, He's a potato. He's gross, man. And then that little thing on his neck or side or whatever he passes for a shoulder. I don't know what that thing is, but he looks gross. He also looks like he smells awful. Just like tufts of hair here and there. I don't get it.
He has alopecia, Justin. Leave him alone.
No, he deserves it. That's what he gets. No, but like probably you don't see like I don't think you see like a cute alien until the final movie or the third installment in that trilogy with the Ewoks.
They're kind of a little creepy though. Like they're teddy bears, but they have like scary faces. Like, I'm gonna eat you. And they do eat people. They eat people. Nobody remembers this.
So did they actually eat people, or is that just something they kind of said?
They were, no, because, okay, at first they were trying to eat people, right? And then, like, they saw C-3PO.
They may have been boiling him. Okay, so sure. Maybe they eat people.
So I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure I've heard this theory before. I think at the end, they're eating, they're eating the stormtroopers. Because, like, where did they get this giant feast? Right?
That's horrifying. I never considered that before.
Right? They're just eating their kill.
But, like, everyone else is fine with it?
Yeah, it's just stormtroopers.
They should probably follow some kind of roadmap instead of just aimlessly wandering about making fun of George Lucas's multi-billion-dollar idea. It's fine.
Hi, we're back. Welcome to us talking about Star Wars and stupid things.
Yeah. Okay, so the last time we spoke, we were talking about the prequels, the episodes 1, 2, and 3, and the shortcomings and the kind of successes that they had there. Overall, it was probably a good story to tell. They just didn't tell it very well until you got to the end, where you're kind of forced to tell a good story at the end of it because of the notes you absolutely have to hit before you get to the original trilogy. Overall plot, you take Luke Skywalker as a very young, like 18 years old or something like that, 17 years old at that point. He's supposed to be very young. I always understood. When I was really young, I thought he was supposed to be like
Hamill aged.
Yeah, I don't know. I always thought he was supposed to be like 21 or 22 or something like that because he just looked a little bit older. Luke Skywalker, when he's very young, he wants to join the rebellion and fight the Imperial fleets or whatever. He gets brought into this amazing adventure, and then through the course of these 3 movies, he becomes a bit more cynical, but like much wiser, and he gets world worn basically. By the end of the movie, he becomes a Jedi Master, even though he doesn't really finish Jedi school. Yeah.
Maybe that's why he's such a terrible teacher.
That could be it. It's not entirely his fault. I didn't finish school. But yeah, so and then like by the end, you get like this, I guess overall like character development between all of the characters that are involved in the story, really. Except for maybe Princess Leia. I don't know. Do you think she has a story arc or like a character development story?
I think we see her already very mature.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to see the character development, but I do think like she learns to kind of like soften. Like, I don't know, trust more, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's a problem that I think back when they were making the movie, they didn't really have to think about that. Like, no, it's not about Leia. It's about Luke. And then you have this side romance, and that's where Leia is like part of it.
Han Solo does have a turn, but it's really just in the first movie. By the second movie, he's still kind of the same person he was at the end of the first movie.
That's fair to say. Like, I think his growth as a character pretty much ends in the first movie. But you could argue that maybe he becomes more, I guess, not such a nerf herder.
Can't say that.
Oh, sorry. Like he learns that, well, he actually does love Leia. I think at first, when you see him in the second movie, he's kind of like, I'm a scamp. I'm going to get this lady. And then later on, like throughout everything that they've gone through, which is not a lot. I mean, maybe we're missing scenes, but
yeah.
he kind of does, like, so he also softens. And I think that's kind of the point of both of them, is like learning to trust in others. Even though it's really dense, like it's something you're not supposed to follow. So.
Okay. It is, I guess, more about like not judging people based on their status or something like that. Because she inherently doesn't trust him because he's a thief and a smuggler and stuff. He doesn't trust her because he thinks that she's like stuck up or whatever, because she's a princess and she's used to having things handed to her, and they're both very wrong about each other. Well, he's wrong about her. She was kind of right about him. He's
for the most part. Yeah. He does. I don't know if he really grows that much. I want to say that he does because I like Han Solo, but he doesn't. So, because I'm thinking about it more, and like in the third movie, he's really just jealous, isn't he? Like he's just jealous of Mark Hamill, of Luke. Yeah.
I don't remember him having a whole lot of like story in the third movie, other than he gets rescued at the beginning, and then he's blind for a little while. He's recovering, and then by the time we see him again, they're already on. Oh, what's the name of that planet with the Ewoks? Endor?
Why? Yeah, that's it.
Endor.
Anytime you ask me a question, it just goes whoop.
So by the time we see him on Endor, it's kind of like he's already kind of accepted that, like, oh, Leia kind of has, a thing for Luke or whatever, and he's like, I won't stand in the way or whatever, and then they're like, hey, yeah, but maybe you should, because that's gross, man.
I do love him because he's my brother.
Yeah. But yeah, so like maybe that's what it is. Like he just doesn't have like a whole lot of story in the third movie. The third movie, I guess, more focuses on the relationship between Luke and Vader, and becoming the man that Vader was supposed to become.
It is very obvious that George Lucas had an idea of what he was doing. Mm-hmm. He knew that he was pretty much just copying other stories and things from samurais and like Asian influences, and you could see a lot of it.
Yeah. Do you think if the prequels had kind of followed in that footsteps, it might have been judged a little bit more harshly? Because, I
already watched something about that.
Did you?
Yeah. So there's this, I don't remember her name, and I could probably tell you later, like, what video I watched. But she is of Asian descent, and she's going over how back when the first episode 1 came out, it was praised for the job they did with the Padme. What is it? That first Imperial, it's like, the one where she's got like geisha face and stuff like that. So they were being praised that it looks so different, and like nobody's ever seen this before, and it's like out of this world for sure. Like nobody's ever seen that before. Not true. So apparently her
Yeah.
her hair design is based off of a Malaysian married woman's hair like style. And because this group of people deeply worshipped like cattle and stuff like that, that's where you get that horn look, because it brings you closer to God. I think that's how she describes it. I don't want to butcher it, but I love watching these movies, but then I'm also like, yeah, you could have put a little more effort into understanding the culture you're drawing from. It just doesn't draw off of that culture from what they use that makeup and hair design for.
Yeah.
And it's a little disappointing. Like, I wish that they would understand it a little better instead of just like copy paste. Like, oh, that looks neat, copy paste. So
like do a little bit more research about the intention of the items they're referencing, or the culture they're referencing.
As the original Star Wars is so deeply based off of these initial stories that it does a better job at merging the two in its own little way. Like, because he pretty much copy pasted the story from another thing, he could use those visual aspects because it fit. But later on, I don't know who was coming up with the design. It just didn't work.
I'm thinking about like how he did that with more of like the story of like of between Luke and Vader and stuff like that, and the I don't know, it felt like very much like a Western samurai movie, at least that, you know, that trilogy. But whenever you go back to like the prequels, it just feels more sci-fi. It's less that Western feel to it. And I'm wondering, they probably would have judged him a little more harshly, but maybe those movies would have been a stronger trilogy. It would have been a greater success in terms of just telling a story, making a good movie. You know what I mean?
Well, he knew what he was gonna do for the prequels before he even made the prequels, before he even made the initial Star Wars. So I don't know if that's totally like accurate or not. What did happen was he changed the plan. Like after the first episode 1 came out, it didn't do so hot, so he tried to change it. So that could be, maybe he westernized it too much. I don't know. Yeah, he probably overcorrected on himself, and I don't know if that's a good thing, because definitely I don't know if I should say he stole material, but he stole material. So I think because he didn't steal material as much for the other ones, it just didn't capture the imagination like the other ones did. And honestly, how did the audiences didn't even know that this was happening. They all kind of thought like, oh, and would they have cared? I don't know. That's like something for like past generations to tell me, but it was initially a guy trying to share with the rest of the world something that he liked in the best way that he could translate it.
It's Star Wars, so I mean, something worked, right?
Yeah. And that's also, I had said this before, and I think it is the best part of the episode 4, 5, 6 can pretty much be told with no sound at all. Like the visuals, just how it plays out, editing, everything works to where you don't necessarily need to know everything that's going on to understand what's going on. George Lucas was not the only person that was making this work. he's probably the lesser person making it work because we've talked about dialogue.
Yeah, it's not real strong. Um, I agree.
Yeah, he did have a vision, and that's enough. And other people were able to go, and no matter how frustrating it was, they were able to achieve his vision for him. So I think the most respect I have for anyone in this whole like film industry is the people that hear something that's just blabber coming out of the director's voice, and then they're like, you want that? Okay, I'll come up with something. And then they do 100 times better than what the guy said. So
the movie is just visually striking for being made in 76 or something like that. The very first one, all the way until 82 was the last one. Something like that.
Yeah, I think so. 82, 83, one of those.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's really strong cinematography and storytelling, and even the score. Like, if you just took out all of the dialogue in the movie and you listen to the music, that's really strong music. Especially I mean, I guess one of the more iconic moments of like visuals and music is whenever Luke is looking out into the twin suns. Out, and I mean, you can just think of it and you hear the score like, anyway. Oh my god.
Goosebumps.
Yeah.
And honestly, can you tell me any of like the quotes besides "I'm your father" and like just the catchy phrases that are in there? You can't tell me like everything that they talk about in like I don't know, the stupid deck scenes. Like, okay. Fire the laser.
And yeah, you're right. We've talked about this before. I mean, it's not the strongest dialogue, but the nice thing is that it doesn't have to be. It is enough of what it needs to get you from point A to point B with enough exposition to where you're not, bored or lost or disinterested that these people have voices and they talk. I don't know that the prequels were any better with that. I mean, he had like 30 years to get better at it, and didn't happen, which is fine. The new movies,
Okay. Mm-hmm. The first one, just perfect. Like, it is the perfect Star Wars movie. Mm-hmm. Then it goes downhill. Like, it's like the first Wright Brothers airplane. It's just like, wow, conk.
Sure. Yeah, that's another story. We'll talk about that later.
For later.
But we're
okay. I'm sorry.
We're trying to stay back. There's a lot of magic in the first, or the the original trilogy, and so much of that does come from the visuals and the score, but also like the situations they get put in is like really high adventure stuff. This kid gets put on a spaceship and he has to gun down bad guys. He's in a dogfight in his first, couple of minutes in space, and he does fine. I got one, and he
don't get cocky.
And, he goes and he saves a princess, and he faces off against the forces of evil and stuff like that. He loses his mentor, and all of this stuff happens in just the first movie. The second movie comes in, and what's great about it is that you get so much character development that you really don't see anymore in trilogy movies like that. And then it does get sparsed out really nicely. And then the last movie is less about, I guess, character development. That kind of happened off of screen, and it's not until like the very end of the movie where you see character development from the bad guy, like Darth Vader, who he thought was his greatest enemy turns out to be the person who saves his life, and there's some nice stuff happening there. But like it's a really, borrowed as they may be, you know, a lot of plot points and devices. It's a really nice story.
So, like I said with the prequels, George Lucas also changed the storyline for the sixth movie. Initially, Luke was going to become evil at the end.
Really?
Yeah. So he was going to, he was going to kill the Emperor and kill his father, but then he would take on the role of Darth Vader. Like, he would be the evil one now. So it's supposed to, like, in a way, like in Greek mythology, like, you kill your father to take the mantle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that would have been a bad move? Or
no?
I don't know.
If he was planning on making a seventh movie. Because that would have been really, really bold to do. Like, if they were making that now, that's probably how it would have gone. Because I think right now, we're the kind of movies that people are making. If there had never been a Star Wars before, mind you, and they were making Star Wars for the very first time, and then somebody had thrown out that idea, I feel like maybe they would have done that. At least I hope they would have done something that bold, right? But like back then, where I don't think that would have been as popular of a choice. That wouldn't have been like, they would have cared less about it being interesting and more about it being a happy ending of like, well, good triumph. You know, that's what we need right now. I would have liked to see something like that, but only if I think there would have he knew he was going to make a seventh installment, or, you know, an episode 7, and then kind of keep it going. Because if he was only going to do these every 20 years or whatever, I don't think people would have been on board with it.
Oh my gosh. I agree with that. And that would have opened up a storyline that I think probably we wouldn't have ever seen in the 80s. Like, the third movie ends like every other 80s movie, if you think about it. Like, yeah, it's happy. There's singing animals, and it I don't know. Everything works.
Yeah, it's a movie, and it's at heart, it's a movie for kids. It's a epic adventure of space wizards and princesses and stuff. And it's, you know, yeah, it deserves a happy ending if it's a kind of a story for kids. And it has real life lessons in there, like, you know, sometimes your dad sucks, but it's got other things in there, right? Like that make it fun and that make it adventurous, that make you want to, you know, hear that story again and again. That's kind of what we were talking about earlier. It's a really good story, just in terms of like, it could be a bedtime story if you really wanted to condense it down into some of the higher points of that story. But
yeah, and that's where I'm thinking that if they continued with that, it would have opened up to more of the only way I could think of it actually going is if you have the dark side, and Luke represents the dark side. Who's the light side now? It's Leia. Leia's going to be force sensitive too. So it would have to be like the clash between good and bad, and they have to neutralize themselves. Like, okay. Like how the last movie should have ended, but it didn't. So
I know. I know the last movie should have ended and started and in the middle been completely different, but it wasn't.
I like the start. The start was good. It's just it didn't end the way or middle the way it should have. Yeah.
Are you talking about the movie or the trilogy?
The trilogy.
Okay, yeah, the trilogy, they had a pretty good start. I did like that.
They just wanted to Wolverine things up. And when I say Wolverine things up, it means exactly what the whole plot of Wolverine is. It goes from one place to another where you meet another person, to another where you meet another person, to another where you meet another person, and then you defeat them at the end.
The X-Men Origins Wolverine movie,
yeah.
That movie also had a lot of problems, and you wouldn't think as many movies would copy it as they do, but
it happens all the time. But I use it as a adjective. Don't Wolverine it up, okay?
Yeah, and they ruined it. That's good. Good for them. Anyway, we didn't really critique too much of it, so much as we were like, why don't they make this like this anymore?
Okay.
Yeah.
We didn't need to tell anyone the summary. If you haven't seen Star Wars, what is wrong with you? Go watch it. Do you remember the first time you ever watched Star Wars?
I remember, I don't know if it was the first time I saw Star Wars. I do know I was very, very young when I saw Star Wars one time. And actually, the very first movie I remember seeing was not the first Star Wars. And I don't think it was Empire Strikes Back. It was actually Return of the Jedi. That is my very first memory of Star Wars. And the reason is because Luke shows up at Jabba's hut or whatever, and he looks awesome. He's like all in black. He's got like a green lightsaber, and he looks like he's seen some things. And I'm like, that's the guy I want to be when I grow up. Just like, he's got a robot hand, probably one glove on. Like, this dude knows what's going on. He's about to mess up this place. Everybody shut up because I want to see it happen. And sure enough, he starts killing a bunch of people. Boba Fett dies, unfortunately. Well, I'm going to complain about that, though.
Dies.
When you have a guy that looks like Boba Fett, maybe don't name him Boba, because I had problems with that name when I was a kid. It was like, his name's Bubba. What is he, like a hillbilly in space? I don't like it. I don't like Bubba.
My name Boba Fett.
When you have a character that looks like that, make him do stuff. He looks cool. He's got a flamethrower. He had a flamethrower the whole time. The past 2 movies he's been in, he never really had a chance to use it. Rocket launcher on his backpack. Yeah, it's just there for show and to poke some kid's eye out whenever they make a toy out of him. They don't. Yeah, he's Boba Fett. Laser guns. You could have you had places to use them. You had excuses for him to be cool, and a blind guy accidentally smacked, like, just Three Stooges him with a board or whatever, and he goes flying off into a sarlacc. Devoured over 1,000 years or whatever. Okay, I guess my expectations were subverted. Kudos. What else you got? But I was happy with Luke and like that whole fight scene that he has with Darth Vader, where it's dark and all you see are like the lightsabers going back and forth. I was like, yeah, that's what Star Wars is, and that's kind of what it is.
Oh yeah.
As long as it leads to a really cool lightsaber battle for a reason where like it's good and evil, or like the fate of the universe feels like it depends on these two guys just like smacking each other with lightsabers. I'm there for it. That's what Star Wars is for me. Like, at the end of the day, that's what it needs. And then we'll get into what my grievance is with like some of the other the new Star Wars movies later on, because we don't really get that as much. That's the next video. We'll talk about that in the next video.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what I was talking about. Boba Fett. That's right.
When you were a child. When I was a child, the first time I ever watched Star Wars, my mom had taken me to one of her friends' apartments, and her friend had a giant big screen. Well, not giant, but like I was 4 or 5, so it was giant.
Yeah.
So they took me over there, and she put in Star Wars, and I just fell in love with it. Like the Ewoks were my side, and
Yeah.
it was just one of my favorite things to watch when I was over there. I would secretly want to go back over there, even though like my mom really didn't have any reason to go there. So it was just so magical, and that's why I say like you don't have to have the words, because I was 5. Like, what was I getting from that?
You're not catching all of the dialogue and the significance of space treaties. You just want to see some laser guns, yeah.
Laser swords, laser swords, laser swords.
Yeah.
Wait, okay. I said I didn't want to do this, but laser swords.
What's called laser swords. I'm so disinterested in anything he does. He talks really low.
Yeah.
I guess if you're George Lucas, you don't have to care about anything. You're done caring about stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's so rich, he doesn't really need to do it. Like, I love how he just told Disney, like, well, you just made a movie that everybody wanted to see. Like, I guess I couldn't make a Star Wars movie. Like,
Yeah.
And then everything sucked after that. So I was like, you guys.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. We're talking about Star Wars and stuff. In the comments below, leave us what was your favorite of the original trilogy? Which one made the biggest impact on you? For me, it was Return of the Jedi. And I think for you it was Empire Strikes Back. Was it? You said that was probably your favorite one.
Yeah, it's just so iconic.
You got a lot of good stuff in there too. And then for some people, it's probably going to be the first Star Wars movie because it has so much. It's so much world building, and that was the kickstart of the entire universe of Star Wars. I wouldn't blame you for having any of these as your favorite movie, but for me, it's always going to be probably Return of the Jedi. Second place is probably going to be New Hope. Third place is probably going to be Empire Strikes Back. Them's the breaks, baby cakes. Anyway, let me get out of here before I get into more trouble. Okay, you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys later. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.
It is surprising when you meet people that have just like never seen Star Wars, and I found out. I guess the reason really is that like they're too young. Like they were born after 2000. Whenever the prequels came out, and people were like, oh, maybe they don't need to know what Star Wars is because they're just going to get disappointed, or they're the kind of person that's like, I don't believe in television, or whatever, or one of those really pretentious people like, oh, I just read, thanks. Letters.
Okay,
letters.
read the books.
You can read the novels if you want. I don't read science fiction. I don't believe in it. I don't
what
believe
a drag.
in anything interesting.
Those people don't watch YouTube either, so we'll be fine.
I hope not.